Hello everybody and welcome to episode 17 of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. I am Andrea Mengucci from Italy, and joining me today we have Anthony Lee from Australia.
Hola.
And Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello everyone.
I have returned from a quick trip in Renton, Washington, where I went for my campaign against the initiative creatures in Legacy, as it was explained in the last episode of the Carnies, which I couldn't be a part of. But this week I'm back, so the trio is back. We are officially here to talk about Modern, Pioneer, Standard, Legacy, and of course, the format of the people.
Alchemy?
But how are we doing? How are we doing this weekend? What have you done?
Well, you'll be very surprised to learn that I played 2 RCQs, so back to the usual. So that was okay, I guess. Most of the time I report good results, but this time not so much. I didn't do very well. That's okay. You get some weekends that are like that, I suppose. But it was also not great for other reasons, I suppose.
Tell us.
Other reasons, you say. What could these reasons be? Did you not eat great food during the event? Did you not sleeve your cards properly? What happened?
Did you go to Sydney?
Well, not eating proper food. I mean, that did happen before once, but no, it was that one of my I had a disagreement with one of my opponents. I thought that I didn't agree. I didn't see eye to eye with them on an ethical point, perhaps. The details are not important, of course, but I did think it was something to talk about. Maybe just that I think people have been talking a lot about this kind of issue in Magic recently, right? Like, well, not even recently. Just people like talking about that kind of thing. I think the thing recently was what was it? Shieldred and Consider, was it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think, and people never seem to agree, which is probably why people have been talking for this for, I don't know, forever. Since I've been playing Magic, people talk about these things, and I don't think it's really that interesting. But what I do think is that whatever position you take on all of these issues, I think the number one thing that I want to tell competitive players is that I would encourage you to be consistent. So I think if you're in a spot where you have a decision about a trigger, you should either always say yes or always say no matter where you are or who you're playing against. Or if you're in a spot where you might be expected to concede, always concede or never concede, depending on whether you're ahead or behind, right? But just make a rule and stick to it, and your whole life will be a lot easier, I think. So pick a side but stick to it, and that's what I would suggest for competitive players, and it will make this kind of the difficult situations that can occasionally arise in tournament situations will be much easier to navigate, I think.
I think what's important to count, though, it's the level of the event. So let's say if you're playing an RCQ with, $25 entry fee, then it's fine to not let your opponent miss a trigger. It's fine to just, be more strict with the rules. Whereas if you're playing on an, like FNM for €5 or event like that, then be more relaxed. I think it's really important to understand your the level of the event you're competing in. That's always been one of my, why also I've been doing very well at PTs and maybe less good on the little lower side event, because I was always like way more chill and relaxed, and also again like let the opponent take back the play, for example.
Oh, well, I think it's that can be good, and obviously the rules account for that as well. So if you just follow the rules are designed to account for different levels of events. But I think it's important to set expectations, because a lot of the time you'll see the same people at these events, and if you've given them an expectation based on events like Friday Night Magic that they will get to take back things or get back their triggers, and then you go against that expectation in an event, I think that can create a very negative experience for them. Whereas if they knew going in that was not going to happen, it's a lot less frustrating when it doesn't happen in the event. So, I think we don't agree on that. Maybe. What does Javier think?
Yeah, for me, it's also like about people. Like actually, like I understand where the guy's coming from, but I'm not sure. Like for me, it's it's also like we're people playing, it's like humans or whatever. Like I don't see myself behaving exactly the same if I'm playing like a friend or someone that I don't know, even like if in a PT level or whatever. Like of course there's limits, but I think, I mean, I've never been involved in many of these situations, but I can see myself behaving differently if I like, know the person. Like if he's a friend of mine, I will probably be more like flexible. I'm sure I will be way more flexible in terms of like triggers or whatever. Like I will probably just.
I'm never gonna miss a
the
shielded trigger against Javier if we play at this PT.
Yeah, exactly. You will probably never miss one. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too emotional on that side of things. But
you're a big softie.
I think you can approach these kind of things differently. Like you can just be the Anthony way, but also don't feel bad by any means if you're like acting differently because someone you like a lot is playing against you, and you're like just put the clue on the tracker or whatever. You play the land, you put the clue to them. You're not there waiting or whatever. You can also do that with all the opponents. When I sit down and play, I just I'm not trying to think about how my trigger rules are going to be or whatever, but I mean, I see the value of being like just consistent, as Anthony says, but also, you can just be yourself and just judge the situation, with not only following a rule, but also with the heart, like how you feel about the situation by itself.
Reasonable.
I believe it was someone between, I think it was Shui Nakamura, but it might have been somebody else who said something like, this GP I stopped the 3 opponents from drawing before paying for the pact, but I couldn't stop the 4th one. Something like that.
I don't know if it was Nakamura, but I know Kenji Sumura was famous for doing that.
I guess it was Kenji Sumura. I'm sorry, classic.
Well, he wouldn't. I'm sure he wouldn't have talked about him doing it, but I know he did it, so it could have been Shuhei as well. It's very possible.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I think another topic that I think was interesting from your events was the when to concede during an event where the draw it's like both for both players.
Right.
So I remember. I think it has a lot to do like not necessarily. I think it was. I saw once at a GP happening, and it really helped me understanding because once the draw happens, it doesn't necessarily matter if you are winning or you're losing. It matters if, like, let's say, if you want to concede or, you stick your gun and you want to win, it really depends on, like, maybe the way you played, the way your opponent played. If your opponent, like, slow played to get to the draw, to then get the win, that sometimes happened to me, and I remember never getting the win in that spot. Or if my opponent actually, like, played well, played fast, and was going to win the match, then I would concede. Something like this, I think it's important. It doesn't always have to be black and white, like you said.
Well, it is black and white. It's just that it's more complex than a yes or a no. What I was saying is that you have to have these rules in mind. So, you know what you're going to do, right? Like I'm saying that that if they played quickly and were going to win, that you would concede. And I'm saying if that was the case, in every case where they played fast and were going to win, that you would concede no matter the result. So no matter how good or bad a draw, win or loss was for you, that you would concede if they played fast and were going to win. That's what I mean by black and white. Not that it's just always yes or always no, but it's always yes or always no depending on the conditions.
It's also important to, like, you have to understand if the draw actually is bad for both. Because, for example, I remember Strasky conceding to Nassif at the regional championship in Europe, but I think a draw for Strasky wasn't that bad. They were the event wasn't over after that round, so
yes.
A draw obviously will help your points.
Yes, but I'm saying
that's a different situation though. That's a different It's not they went to time. It's a different situation.
Exactly. So I'm saying, exactly.
Yeah, we should maybe explain the situation so the listeners know because they might not be aware.
I don't exactly remember
what happened was
something Nassif.
Yeah, something I think Nassif accidentally cast the Omnath without Strasky cast an Omnath that couldn't cast. And they noticed too late or something like that. He just decided it was a good thing to do, and he just went with it. I don't think it's the same situation. Like if you're late in the tournament and you naturally come to a time, and this Antonio situations happen. I think it's a different thing. But by the way, Strasky followed his ethics, and that's I think that's really good.
I think that's what we're saying. It shouldn't be about.
If you follow your ethics, you're good.
Follow your ethics and don't make your decision based on principles and not about the result. I think. Don't think about material consequences. Just make a decision based on your principles, and it'll be I think people respect that, and that's kind of important in a game like Magic that is very community oriented. Like someone like Strasky being willing to do that is, I think, important, and the kind of characteristic you need to, well, get to the level that Strasky has, I think.
For sure. All right. What about you, Javier? How did your weekend go? Last week you said us that you were going to play the Standard Showcase. How did that event go?
Well, my weekend was actually great. I had a great time because there was this the Grand Qualifier in Barcelona. So I had a lot of friends coming here. It was, maybe I'm getting older, but the fact that I had just friends at home, just chilling there, was like it gave me a lot of joy. I was just trying to make them feel comfortable and just, everyone having a good time. That was very good. And the tournament itself, it was not great. I went, I think, 2-3. I went 2-1, so I lost. If I had won the last one, maybe I will be able to top 8. Probably not, though. But I actually played a lot of cool and close games. I played Grixis. I specifically lost a cool mirror match against Nassif in round 4, where we both it went for super long game. I think he uploaded it to his channel. So if you're interested, you can check those. I haven't seen it yet. I probably made some mistakes. It's very easy to make mistakes in this kind of events, but yeah, it was a good one. I also played the Arena Qualifier where I won 0-2. And I played the Legacy, and this is fun. I played the Legacy side event in the tournament where I got knocked by Cephalic Breakfast in a Cephalic Breakfast mirror match, making it the second week in a row. Yeah, in paper, making it the second week in a row. I get knocked by this deck. It's
the Cephalids.
Justice.
The Cephalids doing so well.
Yeah.
It was 2 in the top 8 of 4 seasons. It was in the Eternal Weekend paper in America in the top 8.
Yeah, part of me is happy, but I just lost it. I played the mirror match, and I just lost the mirror match. It was a little bit. One thing about these side events, though, I didn't like something, and it actually made me feel when I sit down to play, I was not in a good mood. I probably was seen less happy than I'm usually when I'm playing Legacy, because when I'm playing Legacy events, I'm just you playing Legacy. This time, I didn't get there too much time before. So it was $50 tournament, and it was no deck lists for it was 50 people or so. It was no deck list. I didn't like that. I understand some people might like not having to write a deck list, but as someone that everyone knows there what I'm playing, I don't know. I didn't like the feeling of playing a €50 tournament where I feel so unsafe. I was only one judge for the whole event or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we didn't have the deck list is they know what I'm playing. They know, they see in the app they're playing against me. I don't know. I didn't like the feeling that not having deck list in the tournament, that's playing somewhat stakes, decent stakes or whatever. I didn't like that feeling. And it definitely affected my mood a little bit when I sat down on playing. Maybe I guess because I like to feel that this kind of deck list plus judge protection when I'm playing Magic for events like that. But yeah, that was something I didn't like about the tournament. But other than that,
what was the tournament structure? What was the tournament
just normal
structure?
Suis, whatever. I didn't see even the prizes.
How many rounds? 4?
6 rounds. It was a normal Suis on top
6
8.
rounds. Okay.
Yeah,
and you get prize. And you get prize world ticks based on your wins or top 8?
No, it was prize pool. It was 40 per 50. Each player had 40 to the pool, so the top 8 got the pool distributed or whatever. So the prizes were good. It was a decently sized event. I don't know how much it was for first, but it was.
I understand.
It was
I understand.
The rules.
I felt it wasn't good. It wasn't
as an expert. As an expert side event players at these GP level events, I want to say that often these events are called double up or things like that. They used to cost €25 in the past. I remember in Bologna last summer, I went to play these events, and there were 4 rounds of Swiss, €25, no deck list.
Yeah, well,
and I did the same in I did the same in Star City game, and I just couldn't care about the deck list. I wasn't even thinking about it. But I think the difference between 25 and 50 is a lot.
No,
and I understand your point.
It's fine. You said they're called double ups, and the entry fee doubled from 25 to 50. That's just how the event works. That's why it's called double up. It makes sense to me.
There was a quadruple up though, because the double up usually were already doubled.
Well, yeah, great. Then next year will be 100, and no one can complain because that's what they said was going to happen. But
Yes.
Yeah. So that was the feeling. I was like, yeah, I mean, there's like this somewhat big tournament in Barcelona of Legacy. It was like, let's go for it. And I don't know, it definitely affected my mood a lot.
Well, maybe
my opponents were all friendly, whatever, but I just didn't like this feeling of like, we're just playing like no list, almost no judges or whatever. That was not very, I also then started playing and obviously like ran bad, played bad or whatever, but it was not a very great thing, even though like, so playing the match against Cephalid, it was really fun because it's also like a person I've played a lot in Barcelona. It was mostly locals in the tournament, right? And he was like Tundra Ponder, Fetchland, and then in turn 3 I'm tapped out, and he was like, hey, we're playing the same, and goes combo me off with Force of Will. I know, I felt like because he knew I was playing Cephalic, but I thought he was playing Control.
Oh dear.
And sadly he was like, he knew I didn't know, so he was like, yep, I'm playing your deck and you're dead. It was fun.
I feel like this always happens though. Like at this point I'm so used to my opponent always know what I'm playing and I never know what they're playing. And
yeah, definitely.
It's a bad feeling, but I live with it. Like
it's
every
not
time
really...
I stream, every time I go to an event and things like that.
That's not really what Javier was talking about though. Like he was talking about the fact that
I know.
that his opponents knowing would allow them to exploit it with the lack of decklist potentially, which I think kind of points to the fact that rules enforcement is just a very important part of the tournament experience in general, and I guess it's something for tournament organizers to take note of, I suppose, that your players can feel more uncomfortable than you might expect when you take away or cut or skimp on cut corners, this sort of thing. It's not something
it felt
that
very
you
bad. Yeah,
Right.
it felt very bad.
I
And it's
understand.
like, it's not that much of like collecting 50 decklist. I mean, it has to be done, but it's not like, you can even tell the players to bring them the decklist to the actual judge station or whatever. It's not like, a huge thing.
Figure
for
it out,
$50
make
tournament.
it work.
I don't know. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It was maybe like 1K or 2K to the top. Maybe 2K. That's like the old GPs. Like it's not. It wasn't. I don't know.
I think the players will understand if you're like even like if you give back like most of the. I mean, I assume it sounds like they redistributed, most of the fee or whatever. But if you had thought of it as everyone chipping in €1 for one more judge to be able to take care of all of that stuff, I mean, that
we'll
seems
definitely
like
be happy
I think
to
it's a
pay
good
that
trade-off.
What I think is that, this is great, like giving feedback to the organizers for things like this is good because I probably wouldn't even think about it. Like, if you tell me it's free deck list, I'm like, all right, cool, I don't have to write the deck list. I don't think the opposite. But I understand that some people thinks the opposite, and it's totally fine. I usually don't really expect people to go to an event like this with tons of GPs and cheat, because that's what they're doing, right? They would cheat. But I understand your point, and it makes sense, and it's good that you raised it. Maybe like a legacy organizer or a legacy judge, I'm sure that will maybe listen to this podcast and will tell them to the next event. So I think it's a good thing we did here.
Yeah, but overall it was a good weekend though. Don't misunderstand me. It was a great weekend. I had like a great experience. Just I was not playing the main event because of the mocks, but I just preparing the tournament with them the day before. It was like all the friends in my home just discussing the deck list. It was like I almost played the tournament. You know what I mean? I didn't play the tournament itself, but I was there with them, and also like on Sunday I was around meeting friends, eating with other friends. It was good. Yeah, I had a great weekend. What about you, Mengu?
What about me? Yeah, so other than going to Renton for the legacy thing, that was obviously a joke. I actually went on holiday with my girlfriend. It's been so long since I've been on a vacation with my girlfriend, not magic related, so it was good. We did a lot of tourism in New York City, a lot of great food, a lot of great places to view. New York is a city that you probably can stay like 1 month and always have things to do, and it was pretty nice. Like, definitely recommend to go there with your loved one and just do tourist stuff. There's really a lot to do. I also got to meet Kalk in real life.
Kalk.
Yeah, that was great.
I have a question though.
Awesome.
So we can blame you to the fact that the initiative is not banned yet, right?
That means you failed your mission. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We can on you. So if you ever complain about initiatives, you can also complain to Mengu. Thanks for telling us the truth.
You can tag me at Mango09 for any legacy ban list request. I will forward to Wizards.
But But also, since you mentioned New York, I guess it's worth noting because maybe there are other people in the world who are like me, and don't fully understand the geography of the United States. But I only found out very recently that, being on the way to Pro Tour Philadelphia, or, for anyone in the world going to MagicCon Philadelphia, whether it's for the Pro Tour or not, that you can visit New York on the way. I didn't even know that, So, if you're not from America, you can take up Mengu's advice and visit New York on the way there. It probably sounded ridiculous to Americans, but,
Yeah. Yeah, I was with my friend Zenny, the last member of the Carnies, and his girlfriend, and we had an Airbnb in the north part of Manhattan. It was nice. The transports are great, and yeah, it's a really
awesome.
really good, great week. We also had a very nice weather, whereas now it's like snowing, I believe. Whereas with us, it was just sunny most of the time.
Wait, is snowing good or bad?
Luck.
No, what are you saying? I don't understand. Is snowy good weather or bad weather?
I think it's bad weather, yeah.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool.
Come on, we're Mediterraneans. We see snow like, once every 20 years. We're used to like sun and warm, Anthony.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
it's way too cold right now too.
It's pretty cool.
All right,
Anyway.
let's talk business.
Okay.
We had plenty of talk, but now let's get into the Carnies competitive Magic talk, starting with Modern, of course. So the LMS in Barcelona had, I believe, around 550 players, which is obviously a huge event these days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to note that the metagame breakdown on day one had Murktide Regent. Is it Murktide as the most played deck?
Surprise.
Which increased in day two, so the conversion rate of Murktide was very high.
Oh, that's actually a surprise.
Rakdos Scam, Azor's Hammer, 5-color Creativity, 4-color Rhinos, 4-color Omnath, all decks that we are kind of known of, and yeah, the day two conversion was excellent of Creativity, which went from 5% to 11%. So I believe that, funnily enough, the number 1, 2, 3 of day two were in fact Murktide, Creativity, and Hammer, which are my 1, 2, 3 in the power ranking. So yeah, Modern kind of stable at this point at the top, but there were some new decks in the top 8 as well. Mostly Paulo Casero playing a Jeskai Stoneblade deck, which is basically the first month of Modern Horizons 2. If you remember, that format had Ragavan and Stoneforge Mystic together. What do you guys think about this deck?
Well, I mean, I think it happens a lot. Like decks like these get played, and then a better version of them arises, namely like Murktide. But it doesn't mean the deck was like super bad. There's surely some matchups where the Stoneforge Mystic is actually better. Probably decks like Rhinos, which, by the way, I want to say Mengu was all right, right, and we were wrong because Arcane Proxy won the tournament in Barcelona. Did you know that?
Oh, wow.
It was one copy in the Rhinos. So Rhinos won the event, and Rhinos playing one Arcane Proxy. Like the player, Christian, said like he will replace it, but it doesn't change the fact that the tournament was won by Arcane
Yes,
Proxy.
it does.
So, Mengu,
It completely changes it. What do you say? You can't just say
it does
that.
not.
One second,
We believe in
Anthony.
results, and results say it won the tournament. So well done, Mengu. You were right. We were wrong. Congratulations.
1 second, Anthony. The winner of Four Seasons, which also was playing Rhinos, a teamer version, didn't play Arcane Proxy and said he wished he played Arcane Proxy.
Oh my god. Well, but he didn't. All right. Well, okay. Well, then if we have it obvious way, then he won without it. So, it.
I know, it's 1 for 1.
But he won in Barcelona. Barcelona was later, so it counts more.
Oh,
So
yeah, exactly,
we have a winner here.
exactly.
Arcane Proxy, and therefore Mengu is the winner. Yeah, next time if Mengu says a card is good and we both say it's bad, I will listen to Mengu.
You're gonna lose a lot.
All right. So yeah, Rhinos, great deck, very good. And the deck that did very well too was Zoo. There was a lot of Zoo in day two. It was the 4th most popular deck. It made the top 8 with a very weird list with 3 copies of General's Pharaohs of Rokrik, the 3-1 that makes 4/4 golems, and 2 copies of a very old card, Geist of Saint Draft.
Ooh.
Yeah, when you said General Ferris Rokirik, I was like, is that the weirdest 3-drop in this deck? I don't think so. It gets even wilder.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, like Geist of
But
Saint
yeah,
Draft.
there's 2 versions of Zoo. One is the one that top 8'd, and one is the one that you can find in the top 16. There's 2 of them, actually 3 of them. Wow, which is the more stock version, which is with Wild Nakatl and Nishoba Brawler. Yeah, I believe that a deck like this can It's very like it's very quick. Like you really just go 2 mana 5/5s, and then you just treble flames, and the game is over. It's actually good. And this weekend showed it.
Why is this deck good now? Like, did something change, or was this deck good all along and it was just discovered? Like, what's
Well, I've been placing this deck in the top 15 of my modern power rankings for months and now, so I would say that it's been around for a while.
Okay, sure, but I mean, top 15 is not very generous, right, compared to what it's doing now. So something changed, right?
Well, modern is a very, very large, like, a lot of decks are in the modern. So like top 15 doesn't mean that the deck is bad, I think. And your experience with the deck can definitely think change the power ranking a lot, I think.
Really?
So yeah, when I do the power rankings, I always mention that my top 15, top 20 doesn't necessarily mean that your deck sucks if it's 15th. And this is like modern. It's really like this. Like that's why you have like 30 decks in day 2 or whatever.
I mean, our understanding was generally that it's certainly true that your deck could be in the top 15 and not necessarily be bad, but that it tends to become good based on the metagame positioning more than your particular experience with the deck, right? Which is why my instinct is to think that something changed in order to make Zoo well positioned, rather than that there are just dedicated pilots who are able to make Zoo win at the win rate of previously much better decks.
The problem with modern is that you can metagame as much as you want, but you are most likely going to play against 13 different decks in 15 rounds. So it's really like that, and every event that happens shows 8 different decks in the top 8, maybe 7, but it's really like that, I feel.
Do you agree,
Javier, with this reading the format?
I think there's some things. First, one good tournament doesn't mean the deck was like suddenly good. But one thing I think is worth nothing that's not obvious is that the 3 players that actually made like sort of 6, I mean, it was 17, 15, and 11. Their deck list seems to be like remarkably close. Like they pretty much play the same 75. Like they play like one command over remand, and the others like 2-on-1, and they swap. So I will not be surprised if this group of players actually work together and they just simply found a very good combination, very good like configuration of the deck.
Huh.
Yeah.
Like,
So if I can interfere, if I can interfere here, this is exactly the list that I have streamed with and made a lot of videos with.
So do you think this one is much better than the one on topic? Because the topic one is different. It's like a different deck. It will play like a different deck. So it's like Sue, but maybe one of them. There's 2 different decks, and maybe one is good and the other's not. Like because the one in the topic is like a different archetype. Like it plays 8 burn spells, and it's definitely trying to go like Geist attacks for 4 and then just burn opponents out.
Yeah, it's playing 12. It's playing Lightning Helix instead of like Dromoka's Command or Stubborn Denial. I understand. I think Stubborn Denial is very good against the combo deck, so I'm not surprised if this deck is bad against Creativity or Amulet, whereas if you play Stubborn Denial and Remand, you're slightly better in that matchup. But maybe this deck is better against Murktide because it has card like Geist of Saintraft, which, resolves and then you kill a blocker, and this card just kills into attacks, or even one sometimes if you have...
I think it's deeper than that, though. I think it's deeper because it doesn't even play like the initial... Like, it just plays the 8 cascade cards. Like, I think this is more like designed to be like sort of a burn deck-ish, if you want to call it. And I think this one actually might be like, a better direction against... I think the metagame didn't expect that much decks like Hammer and such. Like, against decks that are based on killing your creatures, this version is probably better than the other one. Like the stock one, which are like the other players, like the counter spells one. I don't know if that's something that's happening here.
Actually, that kind of makes sense because like burn decks are good because it's hard to interact with burn spells, and this player has 12 burn spells, and then a lot of the creatures are hard to interact with profitably, like whether because they generate immediate value or they actually have some form of untargetability. So
also Shardization is here like a burn spell. Almost, like this player's Shardization into a burn spell.
That would make sense to me.
Burning people.
I don't know. I honestly remember playing this deck, trying this deck, and didn't like it. Whereas I did like the other Zoo deck. But again, a lot has to do with how you're familiar with the deck and things like that. A thing I wanted to mention also is the creativity decks. I'm checking out the one that did well with, and one of them was playing 4 copies of Bitter Reunion that is a new card, exclamation mark, new card. uh, one in a red, that's basically a Tormented Voice, but you can pay a colorless and it gives sacrifice and gives haste to your creatures, which is pretty good in a deck with Archon of Cruelty and Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. And I think this card is a lot to explore. I'm definitely going to explore it further this week. What do you think about the addition of Bitter Revolution in this deck? Bitter Reunion, sorry.
Well, the thing is, this card is very good. Another key difference between this and Tormented Voice or Cathartic Reunion is it is not a cost to discard a card. So you play it, and they kind of have to counterspell it. You know, like you didn't get any advantage. Right, I think this card is one of the best cards in the new set. Actually, I've
For sure.
have seen this card like in standard well a lot. In addition to modern, like I think this card is simply very good. Tormenting Voice plus haste. Well, I mean, it's a free haste. You know, and free haste is often easy to make. Like
it's sort of like
Fable.
extra fraction of a card, right? Like Tormenting Voice is card neutral, but this is like a little bit extra.
Yeah, like if you give haste to a Fable of the Kiki-Jiki, Reflection of the Kiki-Jiki, that's very easy going to translate into an extra card, right? And it's only 1 mana. So I just think this card is just good. Like we're gonna see this card a lot, and we're gonna see it in standard. I think it's a good card, and therefore also good here because it has synergies or whatever. Think of it as like a small Fable. It's like a Words Fable, of course, but it's the same concept as Fable, where it just gives you card selection and then gives you an effect. Then again, Words and Fable, but like the same kind of concept, I think.
I can buy that.
Yeah, a lot of different creativity versions still. It's so cool that players haven't decided whether they want to be just 4-color with Persistent Wren or adding white for Leyline Binding and Teferi. Now there's also the question whether you want to play Bitter Reunion or not. I'm still surprised that nobody's playing Abundant Growth in the sideboard, which I think it's just very good in this deck because Blood Moon is a very much played card. In both days, Rakdos Scam and Murktide were the two most played decks. So, yeah, I want to play creativity, but I'm going to find space for Abundant Growth in my sideboard.
Yeah, I agree. For what it's... I mean, this is probably just echoing Mengu because I like Abundant Growth because Mengu has talked me into it. So it's probably shouldn't come in much.
For sure.
But I agree with Mengu. Like, I think the card's good. Of course, influenced by Mengu, but I also think it's good. When I played it, it was like, wow, this card's great. It dodges Blood Moon while not costing me a card, which makes it like better than other stuff.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was also another another paper event, a large paper event happening this weekend, all on the other continent in America. It was the NRG series, under 73 players, so still a very large one. And the winner was in Swiss and also in the tournament was 5-color elementals with. Just elementals for Ephemerate. You have Flamkin Harbinger, the one that puts on top the elemental. Just really old. We were speaking about the GSK Stoneblade. Also, this deck was basically found out in the first months of Modern Horizons 2. And I guess this one has new cards in the form of Leyline Binding. But yeah, I mean, pretty cool. What do you guys think?
It is pretty cool. I do think Binding is not a small upgrade, though. Like, I think Binding... Binding makes a whole big difference. Like Binding is a great removal spell. Like 4 mana, kill a permanent. Like I'm not sure. This deck could be just very good. Like these decks never have like this efficient removal spells, and now they do. They had to play Prismatic Ending, but it doesn't deal with stuff like Mortal Regent. But Binding deals with everything. So there might be like a deck like this, or maybe other decks that are just like now suddenly just great because of Binding that we haven't explored yet. I mean, I could see that happening.
Now, that's a pattern that I can actually get behind, because I didn't really buy it when Mengu said, yeah, these guys are just, they have experience with Zoo or whatever, or with whatever deck. But the idea that there's a new card that, because it fundamentally changes Modern by adding another type of interaction to it, now I can believe that changes things, and that's why we haven't seen these decks before. So decks like that Zoo deck, or like the Stoneforge deck, the Stoneblade deck, that's... that strategy fundamentally needs good interaction to work, and that interaction didn't really exist before and now does. And it's taken, some time since the printing of Leyline Binding to figure out. Now that I can definitely believe that as the reason why these decks are now emerging. Elementals I don't know about, but
This deck I think is very good against Murktide, which is a great place to be. You play 4 Cabinet of Souls, you play super annoying cards like Voice of Resurgence, Solitude. And Sato Mariner also can't be that bad. I mean, dice do 2 mana removal, but you play 4 Ephemerate, so you can play around it. I believe that it's a pretty great place to be to playing a deck that's good against Murktide, which not that many decks can say that, I think.
Yeah, it's also similar to Murktide, so in terms of like the metagame positioning. So, the version of Murktide that beats Murktide, good spot.
Last week, you've talked a lot about the Stone Brain in Eldrazi Tron, do you remember?
Yeah.
And this week, we have Amin Ebadi, who made top 8. Actually, let me see how did they finish. Yeah, they just lost in the quarterfinals with Colorless Tron, which is a controlled version of the deck. So it's playing 4 Spells Guide. And they're playing 3 Stone Brain main, 1 Stone Brain in the sideboard.
That
logical.
makes sense, actually. I think what this player's trying to do is lock people under breach with Stone Brain. Like, often decks have like 1 answer, max 2 to the breach. Like you name the Otawara, I guess, with the Stone Brain, and you will just knock out many like bullet players straight with a breach.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's what they're trying to do here. Yeah.
I think Spyglass for Otawara.
Yeah, maybe a Spyglass Otawara, and then they name the Bersen Borrower, and the game's over, almost.
Kind of makes
also
sense,
with
yeah.
Mentor Sphere. Yeah, 3 copies of Mentor Sphere put you out of bolt range pretty easy. Also, Chalice of the... Like, I will hate to play against this deck being blue-red, honestly.
Yeah, wow.
So, like, it's just
last week, I remember you were saying something about Drowsy Tron against Murktide with cards like, Chalice of the Void being very good and etc. Chalice of the Void has been historically good, but since Murktide added 3 to 4 copies of Ledger Shredder, it really is the fact that you can get rid of your cards while having a large flyer that can also find your cyber cards. Like now you have Brotherhood End, for example, which I'm sure is going to be fantastic against this deck in particular. I was playing 1 copy in my cyber, sometimes I say 2. So there are cards that make Blue-Red Murktide, I think, still not that unhappy to play against this deck. Like, this deck still doesn't have that many answers to Ragavan, so if I go turn 1 Ragavan, you really just have like Walking Ballista or hope to block it with Spells Guide. And Ragavan can snowball very easily. So I believe the matchup isn't, as clear, but yeah, but definitely like Stone Brain naming Creativity or naming Primeval Titan is huge.
Well, I don't think Murktide is ever going to be like horrible against anything. Like, it's not really the point of any of these decks. The problems with Murktide is when it starts to become like slightly unfavored against too many decks. But yeah, I wouldn't expect anything to just obliterate Murktide, really.
For sure. Murktide also, I think, made the final here. Ross Mavra made the final with Jeskai Breach, a very good pilot on this deck, definitely master of the deck, which I think is seeing a little bit of a downtrend since the peak that was maybe 1 or 2 months ago. But, still a very good deck.
What tier would you say it is?
A great choice.
What tier would you say What tier would you say that Jeskai Breach is if you had to give it a tier?
I mean, I'm gonna stick to my most recent power ranking. I put it in the highest tier at the 5th place.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
So still the barely the highest tier. Who knows if it's gonna keep it for next month. Stay tuned.
We await with bated breath.
Yeah. So to round it up quickly, I want to say that there were also the Magic Online challenges. No strong news here. There are Bitter Reunion decks that I am very excited to try out this week. Lots of Murktide, a couple of Zoo decks in one of the top 8. I believe both lists are the stock one with 4 Stubborn Denial, 2 Agreement, 1 Dromokas Command. So still the other one. But, it's interesting to see if players will pick up the other version of it.
And 1 Tron. There's always 1 Tron around.
There is always 1 Monogreen Tron. Yeah, and it's not...
It's Tron. It's either a Eldrazi Tron or Control Tron or Green Tron, but there's a Tron.
Yeah, it's not Batista, though. All right. Shall we move to Pioneer? What do you guys think?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Pioneer. Pioneer has seen a couple of events in paper as well, one of them being the second regional championship in Canada. Canada is the most beloved country by Wizards of the Coast that not
What?
only got one regional championship for a country, but got two. So
Well,
you see in the...
I don't know if that's representing it correct. I mean, it's not like Wizards gave them to RCs. It's that the people who are organizing the people who have been given responsibility for the regional championship in Canada have chosen to run two. I mean, it's not that they're favored by Wizards or anything. That's not a reasonable representation. But go on.
It's not Wizards' fault, but
No.
okay. Wizards decided to wash their hands very cleanly here. Good. We have a winner that is, I believe, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Monogreen Devotion?
What are you asking me? Sorry,
Did Winnevotion win or... No, I think Rakdos won. Rakdos won once again. Man, Rakdos won like every championship feels like.
that might be, yeah. So one, Australia, Taiwan, Canada. Did it win the previous Canadian one?
No, actually, no. Canada
or
won
didn't?
was Monogreen in the final.
Yeah,
Rakdos.
yeah.
Ooh, Esper Greasefang in the final. Did you see it?
I did. That one really took me by surprise. Yeah.
New Supreme Verdict. Wow, this deck list is wild.
And it's going to get a lot better when they eventually make the Fastlands, which they'll do at some point, probably soon. So
Yeah, there is a Soaring Vengeful Bloodlord. I remember hating this card in Standard. It was super weak, but look at it.
well, I mean, there's
Four
much
mana
better
this
targets
one.
now.
Yeah.
Also,
Wait, what
mana
does it do?
Greasefang.
Sorry, I don't understand.
I mean, you
You
just
reanimate a creature, right?
yeah, you just reanimate your Greasefang.
Reanimate the Greasefang.
but it's also
for four
actually
mana,
relevant
yeah.
that it gives you Parhelion lifelink, because sometimes just reanimating Parhelion once isn't enough. But if it has
Wow.
lifelink, then you're probably good. Yeah.
Very cool. Elves?
And
Elves
elves
made top
also,
8?
like
Yeah.
actual elves, like
Yeah.
with all 33 elves, 8 like company cards and lands. That's it. Like they just got to the top 8, and I mean, these 8 cards are probably decent against Rakdos. Like traditionally, these elf decks are weak against Rakdos, but I could see this being decent. Like company always good, and I guess the elves are good enough. Like the new Lord is definitely strong against a player trying to go with removals against you. What do you think? I don't know.
Like,
This deck is
it
fine.
wasn't. I mean, there's a limit on how good these creature decks can be, how good they can be against Black Red, but it's not nearly as bad as you would imagine, because like Collected Company is, of course, very strong. Elves has like a bunch of good starts as well, specifically with Mana Dogs and the Leaf Ground Visionary, but it's not that easy for Black Red to catch up. And in the sideboard, Shaper's Sanctuary is really quite a nightmare for Black Red. And I think Black Red has cut a lot of the cards that tend to make, a lot of the, at some point they were playing cards like Witch's Vengeance, which is obviously the worst thing ever if you're playing a tribal deck. But you don't really, or Hidetsugu Consumes All is also often kind of rough, but no one plays those cards anymore. So,
Or Kalitas.
yeah, Kalitas as well. Like,
common as
I'd much
before.
rather fight a Sheoldred than a Kalitas with this deck, right? So, yeah, I think I don't think the matchup is as bad as people might assume for the Elves deck.
I think we might see Kalitas going back though into the. I think
Yeah.
the metagame is now in a position where there's less monogreen and there's they're more like Gruul mid range, even Angels decks or the such where Kalitas is actually good. I think that because against everything else but Devotion, Mystery Shadow is like weak. But against these decks, Kalitas against Elves, having Kalitas or having Shadow just changes the matchup dramatically.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we might see Kalitas making a comeback in. I'm not a big fan, but I think it might make a comeback in Pioneer.
Yeah, I mean, if people are able to exploit to switch over to Sheoldred and move away from Kalitas with stuff like this, then for sure, maybe we have to re-up them. So
A deck that I want to mention as well is the one that top aided by Davis Violet. And I like it. It's Gruul and it's playing Werewolf Pack Leader. That's remember, a very strong card in Standard that haven't really played it much in Pioneer, but I think it fits this deck quite nicely.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't recall who was pushing this on Twitter, but there were some people who made that call that Werewolf Pack Leader was going to lead the pack in terms of the Gruul Vehicles decks in these RCs. And I think if you look at all the Gruul Vehicles decks that did well, they all do have this Pack Leader card. And there's not that much to say about it. It's just a very efficient creature that does the job well in this kind of aggressive mid-range deck. I don't think there's
I like
anything special to it.
very much
it
the
was
mana
Willie
base.
Edel.
Second?
Willie Edel.
Maybe I think it was Willie Edel.
Was Edel?
Actually
Was it?
brought the. I think
Nice.
Edel was the one playing the pack leaders
Oh,
before.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
pack leader indeed.
I also really like the mana base because I remember when I was practicing this deck for the PTA, the mana base had like 3 Mountains or things like that, which was pretty terrible. Now you have Mana Confluence, you finally lower the amount of Mutable because I thought 4 was too many. You're playing 2 in fact now, of course, because of the pack leader mana base changes, but yeah, I think I like the changes.
Maybe
there.
that's one of the secret benefits of pack leader. It forces you to fix your mana base.
Yeah,
you
cut
know?
the Mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Although
And,
Den of the Bugbear and Mutable and Werewolf pack leader in the same deck, I don't know if they've gone far enough, but I'm going to assume that they've done due diligence in that regard. So
yeah, then of the Bugbear pack leader, remember it was a non-point standard back in the days. Because you're forced to either play pack leader on turn 3 or play Den of the Bugbear top.
Maybe
if you had
it's
both in
fine,
your
though.
opening hand.
Yeah, that's a
fine.
bad number. Maybe that means they should be not then here.
No, no, I agree. I just look at the mana base and was like, oh, finally somebody cut Mutable. I didn't see the Den of the Bugbear pack leader combo. Also, I saw that Anthony, as a fan of Sandwich, Happy Sandwich, he top 16 both Canadian championship.
Oh, awesome!
So-
Awesome. I
Yeah.
think he's he's a great player, and I always follow his hammer lists carefully. And
Yeah,
wow, it's good to see he's having success.
He played Gruul. Yeah, he played Gruul in this one.
Well, I guess
didn't top 8.
I guess hammer was out of the question.
Gruul is the hammer of the Pioneer. It will
Is
say.
it?
I mean,
I don't know about that.
No,
No, I
man,
mean,
probably,
if he
probably
decided
is.
that, you have Embercleave in the sideboard, that's basically a hammer.
That is basically a hammer.
I guess so.
It's the best McCleave deck, so here we are.
Yeah, but it's the only equipment you're allowed to play. I think.
In the top 8 of the challenges on Magic Online, you have 1 million Rakdos decks.
Of course.
I believe. Yeah, something like 6 in the Saturday one, 3. Yeah, just a lot.
I do think it's a
good deck.
similar phenomenon to Blue-Red Murktide in Modern, where it becomes
For sure.
overrepresented because it represents all of... Like, if you want to play an interactive deck, and some players are always going to want to do that, for competitive or non-competitive reasons, they just have to pick that one because that's the best one by far. I think it's the same thing. So, like, Murktide and Black-Red are always going to be overrepresented relative to how good they are. I'm not saying they're not good. They are good, but I mean, obviously, I don't think they're like so good that they have these numbers, which are of a format dominating deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's more about condensation than actual dominance.
And very interesting, the 8th deck in the Sunday Challenge is very similar to something I was working on, which was a still Gruul deck with Todd Seer, because you have so much colorless mana. That was playing Todd Seer in the main, with Embercleave and no Sky Sovereign. Still, like, so many versions of Gruul that I think it's a deck that...
Gruul Eldrazi. Wow.
Eldrazi, yeah. Todd Seers. You have Copperzone Forest, Mutavault, Heship Oasis, and Ramunap Ruins.
Wow, it's like an old Modern deck, isn't it?
List. Yeah.
Nice.
What do we think? Are we ready to move on to Standard, or something more to say about Pioneer?
We can move, right? We have this other tournament that was won by Monoblue Spirits, which is another archetype there.
Where?
Yeah. The Pioneer NRG event.
Yeah.
The 5K trial, I believe.
Yeah. It was just...
I believe, yes, but I believe they also added... Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah. Top
It's like
8
another deck.
was-
Pioneer is shaping like there's a lot of decks. It's like Modern where there's Murktide and a lot of decks, and Pioneer is like, has Blackdust, but then a lot of decks are like tier 2, and any deck, it feels like any deck, if it stops being respected, can win a tournament. I think that's a good position
Yeah,
to be
very
for
old
format.
Modern vibes.
I think that's
Yeah,
kind of cool.
so-
Wow, zero Rakdos in that
Yeah, see what I mean?
energy event top 8.
And then again, like variants, like
Yeah.
deck variants, whatever. That's
For sure. Yeah, that was 173 people, so still a
Still
large
respectable.
event.
I mean, also those things are going to be connected, like Mono Blue winning and then a severe absence of Black Red. Obviously those things don't happen independently, but it's good to see completely different metagames come out of these events. So
For sure.
all right. Let's move to Standard.
Yes.
It's not the format of the people, I guess, but it's
The format of the arena people.
okay. Wouldn't it be historic, maybe?
I think that would be alchemy.
No, it was standard, actually. Yeah. Alchemy.
Alchemy, is there people in alchemy?
Yes, it's the format of the people.
At least me and Anthony.
Oh, you and Anthony. Okay.
You can meet there in the ladder.
Two people. That's two people.
The best thing is I haven't
people.
even played alchemy since they nerfed Town Razor Tyrant, but I still insist on saying the name as much as possible to upset Mengu. So,
You're doing well. You're fighting the good fight.
I mean, it doesn't matter why we like alchemy. It just matters that we do, right? It doesn't matter if we only like pretending to like it out of spite. So, anyway, standard.
Remember spending weeks testing Tomb Raider Tyrant, and then they nerfed it like 1 week before the PT or something. That was peak arena testing, I think.
Peak alchemy, also, yeah.
Like things I regret the most having done in my life, testing alchemy for that PT.
Get town raised. So yeah,
Standard dragon.
Where there's no Town Razor Tyrant.
Standard. Woohoo! Okay,
Alrighty.
so Javier didn't top 8 the Mox showcase, but how did the top 8 go?
Well, the tournament was won by Damian from Argentina with mono white mid-range, definitely very headed towards beating Grixis. We talked a little bit about how these white decks were going to be good against Grixis, but how the Grixis decks will be able to counter these white decks by adding a lot of disinful strokes and such. That was my experience. I actually played against 2 white decks, and I think I disinful stroke the Warden twice, and you can tell the game was often very impacted by that sequence. But what Damien did was actually play less of the heavy cards. He played only 2 Wardens and 2 Paragons. He doesn't play a lot of big cards, but plays 4 Lauren of the 3rd pad. So the mana curve he's playing is actually kind of low, which makes sense because it makes mono white a harder deck to attack. And also having cheaper cards make the lay down arms better because you can sometimes use them as a tempo.
That was something that struck me as well. The bank busters in this deck are so sick because of lay down arms. Normally, in most games, if your opponent goes turn 2 bank buster, turn 3 activate bank buster, you already feel good as soon as they start reaching for their bank buster. But now they have an actual good 1 mana removal spell. Maybe it's not. It could go wrong for you very quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
And there was also a lot of six Grixis in the top 8 and also Arian with Esper, but it was a bunch of Grixis. And at the end, I guess it just paid off for the main, right, with the mono white, because I think this deck, the way it is built, it is ahead against the Grixis. We saw some adaptations, we saw some Ron's Vortex or whatever from the Grixis side, but not enough to stop the white decks. Going forward, though, James C played 2 strokes. I also played 2 strokes, I think. Strokes were played and also cards like that, but I think it was not enough to stop the
especially when
the white decks.
As you say, they just re-upped, right? You added disdainful strokes and then they just added more cheap cards to the deck, which is obviously the best way to punish or make
exactly. But the key point is he didn't wait. For this week he played the cheap cards before we actually played the strokes in tournaments, right? That's a kind of a metagame decision that actually impacts a lot.
For sure.
And I think there was a good, I also Lauren on the 3rd pad, I assume, quite good against the mirror matches if they play
it's kind of good everywhere, right? Except Esper. Maybe it's mediocre against Esper, but against Grixis it must be good, and in the mirror it must be great. So, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely love this card. So also Wandering Mind back to the menu again. So many decks like Everwalkie and other players played it. Also Nassif, presumably because for the mirror match, it's kind of good. I don't like it much, but it was good against me when they played it. So
yeah, I think
maybe that's a card we should play more.
It's good if you think the mirrors have lots of Invoke Despair fights, I think. But as a card, otherwise, I felt it was a little underpowered. But I guess if you're going to play a lot of Invoke Despair mirrors, I guess it's good.
One aspect is it's the better card you have to sacrifice to the Invoke, the better creature. So it's not only good because it fetches Invoke, but it's also good because it dies to the Invoke, right? And you don't, you don't want to sacrifice any other creature. It's very bad against Esper. It's particularly bad against Esper, but Esper was not quite represented. There was all in the top 8, and
with the amount of Grixis that's here now, a lot of people are dissuaded from Esper.
It's all Grixis, and there was a very interesting deck that also ended 11. They lost to me because I got super lucky against them. Otherwise, I would have lost. With Bitter Reunion, the Prediction Portal, and the White Reanimate, the White Invoke. and Evoke Justice. Honestly, the deck was great. Like I played against it, and there was a situation where they were like an 8, and I had to do the Haste Serpent, and I cut down for Sanctities. Otherwise,
I remember that. That was incredible.
I just yeah, like I sent the screenshot afterwards.
Yeah, it was. I was like, wow.
Yeah, like that's how I beat this opponent. But this deck was they went 3-2, and so if I don't get the luck box turn, they will win like 4-1. Like this deck was very interesting. I was impressed playing against that deck. For like, well, this deck looks good against Grixis and good overall.
We also had investigated another Portal to Phyrexia deck leading up to this event, right? I think it was this from Japan, the one with Chaotic Transformation. So do you remember that one?
Yeah. That one was kind of like cool, but this one is the same idea. But in my opinion, like this is. Now I'm seeing the deck list, and it feels like this deck is well built.
Yeah, like
so definitely something.
This actually makes a lot of sense to me, right? Like we've been looking for ways to try to go over the top of these giant mid-range slogs, and it's been kind of hard because cards like Make Disappear and Esper in particular really punish people trying to go over the top like this. But Grixis is not good at doing that, and neither are these mono-white decks. So like playing like weird stuff, like this Portal to Phyrexia stuff, or the mono-green like ramp decks with Power Stones and Cityscape Leveler, I think it's a similar concept, right? Like with the absence of Esper, which is good at punishing those go big decks and being replaced by Grixis, we're starting to see some metagame churn, I think. Long overdue, by the way. So yeah, I think that's the fundamental thing. Like Grixis having pushed out Esper for now has kind of opened the floodgates to all of these various decks trying to attack Grixis.
It's actually hard though to attack Grixis because of Stroke and counterspells. Right. And for Portal to Phyrexia, it looks like this Ugin type of card, but it's not, because the Grixis decks play 2-4 Abrade main deck. Mm-hmm. So even if you play the Portal, sometimes you
don't
kill
always
Fable.
Win. Yeah.
They Abrade and they untap and keep playing. Like, sure, you make your combo and you kill the Fable and Abrade.
Yeah, I think.
But like it's it's good, but it's not like a game breaker. Like if it wasn't enough for Abrade, you play this card and you win. Yeah. It's a 9-mana card that wins a game, but it happens to be Shatter main deck everywhere. So it's kind of unfortunate for this deck that Portal is not very good. If Portal was an enchantment or something like that, it would be like
I'm guessing the good part is that like it still plays like, the rest of the deck is like, it's sort of like the white mid-range decks, and like they have the Steel Seraph, Sanctuary Warden, Fable interaction sort of thing going on. So they have this Invoke Justice on top, obviously. They're not able to go under Stroke or whatever as easily, but it's not like their deck only plays a Portal and doesn't have any other plan. So, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I think that's it for Standard.
Pretty much.
That was a big surprise of the week. But overall, I expect the metagame to stay the same. Like Grix is the deck to beat, and we will slowly see things moving. But that's it.
Yeah. Well, I guess that was it made me think about that question we had from last week. How many shoulders should we play? Well, I don't know. Maybe you're not even supposed to be playing black cards. So we are now even less certain than we were last week.
Okay, right. That's cool. That was a nice little Thunder talk, guys. Thank you for doing that. It's my job to bring us back to Legacy, where 3 important events actually happened this weekend. So I'm gonna go over them one at a time. First, I want to address what you said in the last episode, which was that you were really aggressive against the initiative cards. All right, Javier? Do you stand by your opinion after this weekend?
I do. I mean, you see these berserkers in the people's sideboards. There's just like a deck that's a card that's only good against a deck. And you see like
I understand. But still, it's not that if 3 blue red Murktide that finish first, second, third play 20 Berserker in the sideboard, we have to ban a White Plume Adventurer card. This is my thing.
I mean, it's also the deck that's kind of new, but of course, like I said, also this, like it's Legacy. Like it will get a point where the cards are not good enough, but the fact that these kind of decks are also only gonna get better, I don't think it's very healthy for the format.
So my fear with banning what people want to be banned. So let me get this straight. Like the deck that I play right now, He's 8cast. I think 8cast is great. So if anyone want to ban Weapon Adventurer or Mercday Regent, I'm happy, of course, because that damages other people's decks and not mine, which is, most people want ban cards that isn't in their deck, so that's okay. But as a content creator, I have to say that if you ban a card like Weapon Adventurer and the Mercday Regent, which is the cards that people want to ban, then I think that the combo decks are just too good. Like Doomsday, it's way too powerful, I think. And the same for the other combo decks, which I think are kept in check by Chalice of the Void and Blue Red Delver. So I think that right now, Legacy, it's a balanced format with, the best decks. And West Initiative just went from nothing to the best deck, which is strange for a Legacy deck, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to ban them. This is my thing.
I think the deck it's a very young deck. It's like 2 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks, and it's only going to get better. Like we very fast going to say what are they saying? Like Ballistas, Gutshots, Dismembers. They're very easy cards for this deck to play that actually beat the hate cards. Like you put a Berserker, that's a card that's only good against this deck, and they already have the counterplay because they didn't have before, so they will lose to it easily, but now they do because the deck is evolving. And I actually agree with you there with I don't think these bans will be good. I don't think if they ban Ancient Tomb, I think it will be too good to combo. I agree there. What I think it would be good though is just to remove the initiative. I think I saw Andrew Morgan saying if the initiatives are just for multiplayer formats and not for Legacy, why don't they errata the initiative to, if you have more than one opponent at the starting of the game, just do this. Right, because I think the issue are the initiative cards. Like Mono Red Prison has been there for a while. It was actually a good deck. It was better as ever it was, right? But it was never this good. It was never good enough to trump the whole Legacy metagame. And this is only going to get better from here. We're gonna see it's already one of the best decks. It's one of the most performing decks in most tournaments, regardless. It's not better than Delver, but it's also because Delver can adapt to it. It's same as Mortite, right?
Yeah, White Initiative basically replaced Mono Red Moon. Mono Red Moon has been pushed out. And I much prefer playing against Initiative than Mono Red Moon, personally, from a gameplay point of view. Because
the games are more interesting for sure. They're better games.
Yeah, the creative combo phase, you play, True Name Nemesis. It's not a very fun card, but a deck with True Name Nemesis, a couple of decks with True Name Nemesis did well. I think it's I don't know, I feel like it's cool. There is a metagame going on right now. Elves did incredibly well this weekend. I don't know if you saw it, but it finished first, third, fourth in the Eternal Weekend Legacy. It also, two of them made the top 8 of the showcase. Reduke finished 9th with Elves in the Eternal Weekend in Pauper in Philadelphia, 468 players. So, I want to say that jumping and talking about bans so early, I feel I don't know. It's just, it's cool.
I'm going to say this. The fact that Elves is doing well doesn't speak of how good Elves are. It doesn't speak of how good the Initiative are. These Elves decks did well because they beat Initiatives. I just think I think this deck is the strongest deck we've seen in Legacy that was not banned by right away. They banned the Breach right away, whatever. I think this deck is for example, stronger than the Oko decks. I think this power level so fast that's just something that the games are just not over as they are with Mono Red. I agree with you. The gameplay is better than Mono Red, but I just feel this deck is just so much better. I'm pretty sure you have not seen me claim a ban will be right.
No, I know.
In the format, not even in Hogak.
Yeah.
I was not a very big fan of Hogak bans. But
for sure,
I think this doesn't look good.
Yeah, they have gathered the win rates of the Eternal Weekend North America Legacy Championship, so the Pauper one, and the White Initiative decks were played by 44 people, so that is the second most played deck, and it won 65% of its matches, as opposed to Blue Red Delver, which was played by 58 people, so it was the most popular deck, which only got a 51% win rate. You could say that, I guess actually the highest win percentage deck was Sapphire Breakfast, but only 3 players played it. So, yeah. But yeah, Sapphire Breakfast went 8-0 IDID and then lost in the quarters, in the semifinals. In the top 8 of the Pauper tournament weekend, there were 3 initiative decks, but they all lost in the top 8. The final was 4 color versus blue-red, was won by blue-red.
Cephalid also doing well because it's good against initiative, by the way. Like, that's another deck that's doing... Cephalid Breakfast is doing well because it's good against initiative. Not because it's great by itself. That's another thing.
Yeah. So I want to say that right now, despite playing against mono white might feel bad and things like that, you still had like Legacy has always been a format where you can get paired against a deck and it's miserable to play against, like Reanimator, Upso spells, Mono Red Moon. The fact that this is too good, maybe it's annoying and makes the format not appealing, and you might say, like, I don't want to play Legacy because I don't want to play against mono white, but formats like decks like that were always there. I always feel like vintage Legacy have always been formats where it's incredibly fun to play the close matches, the fun matches, and it's incredibly unfun to play the opposite, like the loop-sided matchups.
Yeah, I mean, that's a matter of feelings. Like, I mean, just look, for example, the win rate you named, that's just like completely out of like anything reasonable. Like, that's just a deck completely destroying a tournament. Like, when we had these winners in PTs, we will be like, this deck is just way too good to ever exist. Right? Like, that's, like, my complaint is not that the game is turn 1 over, because as you said, that's always been the case. Like 10 years ago, you will die to Storm turn 1. Like, that's always been the case with Legacy. That's fine. My issue is, I think this deck is the best deck by a lot, and it happens to be one of these decks, so it's like even less fun. Like, I never minded storming tier 1, even though it killed you in turn 1. But I would have minded if I felt like Storm was the best deck by a whole tier. Like, I don't think Delver is tier 1 anymore, because I think the only tier 1 in Legacy is White Initiative. And tournaments keep happening, and it keeps happening. Units are there, and the deck is only going to get better. Of course, the other decks will also adapt, but, like, every week we're going to see this deck being a little bit better. And yeah, I think the issue is the initiative cards, because, again, as you said, it pushed out Mono Red Moon, which, again, it's a deck some people might not find fun, but it's good at polishing other decks in the format and punishing like Mana Base or whatever, and also having a good challenge deck. Like, it could be 8 cast or Moon is fine for the format, but this is like a whole different level. This is a deck that has like, it loses to some decks, namely Elves and similar decks that have like a lot of 1-drops or whatever, but that's it. Like, anything else is like break even or bad against this deck. It's just like so powerful.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna be waiting though. Like, it's Legacy, so that Wizards doesn't act that quickly. So we're gonna be, spending week seeing how Mono White does. I believe that Mono White is similar to Mono Green in Pioneer. I don't know if you can see the comparison there. As in Mono Green, it's was very good when the week it was very good and everybody wanted to be banned. It's pretty bad to play against and etc. But at the end of the day, I think it's Legacy, so it's gonna find its way to warp around the deck, I think.
I actually like the comparison. I think it's a very good comparison. But Mono Green never had like a 6,500% win rate in a big tournament after it was targeted, though. Like, I think the comparison is very accurate, but I think the power level is not.
But I don't think it was targeted. Like, this is a Pauper event with 500 people. Like, if you think about the invitation that we played, the 75 people tournament, there were 11 players playing Mono White, only one made top 8. No, sorry, 2 of them made top 8.
Okay, you're gonna see how targeted it was. Look at the top 8 deck list. For example, you see Delvers. The amount of Pyroblast main deck between these 2 Delver decks is 0. 1 plays Fury. They play Holy Heat. They don't play Pyroblast. They all play Unchained Berserker in the sideboard, like, or similar cards. Like, or Nemesis. Like, it's very warped. Like, Pyroblast has been a stock card main deck in Legacy for forever, for as much as I can remember. And this deck is so good that it pushed Pyroblast out. You cannot say it's not target. It's actually like,
no.
I don't remember warping this hard, like, for Legacy.
I mean, the top 8. In fact, in the top 8, they lost against the more targeted decks. So what I'm saying is, it's kind of hard to always look at these results this early. That's what I'm saying. Maybe people, yeah.
No,
anyway.
I mean, the conclusion might be too early, but I'm saying is these decks are already warped because they're different to the Delver has been stuck for like a while already, and this deck impact was so large that it affected how Delver stock looked. Now it doesn't look like Pyroblast.
Maybe people played like a stock Delver and it wasn't good anymore. That's why it didn't do that well, Delver, in this tournament, because you had to adapt.
No, that's why these people, I'm pretty sure these people made top 8 partially because they did not play Pyroblast main deck. But that's another thing. Like if I see this top 8 and I see like, wow, Initiative just destroyed this tournament because it's only Initiative, decks that are good against Initiative, or decks that are warped against Initiative. That's the whole top 16 pretty much. So that's my read in the tournament at least. But yeah, that's me. We'll see with time. Like hopefully you're right and the deck sucks, but at this point I feel like it's very rare. Like it's going to be a rare.
I think it's important to understand what do you want out of Legacy, because do you want a format that changes once every 6 months, or do you want a format that changes as fast as like Pioneer or even Standard? And I think that's a lot of the disagreement, because I'm a content creator, so I am happy to see changes like this, for example, that make things interesting for us to talk about, for me to make a video with, and things like that. But instead, if you are like, a Legacy player who just spent thousands of euro into buying Mono Red Moon, then you might be upset that your deck, isn't good anymore all of a sudden. So
yeah, I think it's also really the kind of player that don't play. Yeah, I agree. I think I should briefly mention this the other podcast. Like, of course, if it was happening like in a Standard, we'll be like, well, next set is gonna have like another card and really good. But if you play Legacy for like 10 years playing Control and now suddenly your deck is unplayable, that's pretty much not happened before. Like, I mean, your deck will be bad, but being this bad, now you play Controlling in a field of full mono white, you're just gonna lose. And I think that's why they are so like unpopular. I think you nailed it. Like if you're just a Legacy player that only plays Legacy, you probably hate to see this happening. Unless you're the ones playing Elves, then you will love it, of course. But overall, I think that's part of the identity of the format, right? It doesn't change much. It's not supposed to change as fast as the other formats. So that's probably why I don't like it, I guess. I mean, I don't mind changes. I'm a little bit like Mengu, but this case, I'm surprisingly, being on the, this should be stopped like position. Like Mengu knows me more, and he knows like I'm probably like usually not like this, but this time I just think the deck is very good. I probably because I played it like a lot the week before the 4 seasons, but I felt like wow, this is if it was a PT, I will for sure play this deck.
Okay. Well, there is not I guess kind of a PT. A lot of PTs happened this weekend. If you think about the important tournaments, because there were, a tournament weekend in Asia, in North America, online, and in Europe we had 4 seasons. So there was like over 400 people each tournament. That's a lot of people playing Legacy. Yeah.
Legacy is very alive, and that makes me happy.
Very, very alive.
It's a very cool format.
Let's speak about another format that is very alive, shall we? The format of the people.
Okay.
Alchemy.
we need a soundtrack for this. Like the format of the people. Or something like that. Yeah. I mean, you will be the one saying the format of the people, but, we should make this button where you click and it sounds Mango saying, the format of the people. Yeah.
And that is, in fact, Pauper. So, Pauper... A lot of boggles. Did you see how many boggles top hated these modern challenges?
No.
Javier?
Modern or Pauper? It's Pauper, right?
Oh, sorry, I was speaking about Pauper. Yeah. No boggles in modern anymore.
Well, I know boggles won the challenge. That's all I need to know.
He split the final on Saturday, and 3 of them were in the top 8 on Sunday.
It's still not that much compared to how many affinities were there, but it's still
a lot of affinity.
Team boggles.
All right, I want to talk about the second place on Saturday. That is the classic Mogd, and he played 4 copies of Falagi Archaeologist. This is the new card. 2 mana 0/3, you mill 3, and you may return a spell, I guess a non-creature, non-land to your hand, and then the other 2 cards are just milled. And that's a 0/3. If you don't want to return anything, it's a 1/4. So this is better than Ogre of Bolas, because you want to fill your graveyard for Tolarian Terror, Gurma Gangler, and of course, the 4 Deep Analysis. We already talked a lot about this deck, I think, in the past episodes. I'm never a fan of this deck, and still not a fan right now. But, it picked up a new card, and if you like this archetype, I guess you can add it.
I mean, this card seems very perfect to this card, for this deck.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the deck might be a luck deck, but this seems like a strong change. Like, if you ever play this card, you get 1 spell and mill deep analysis, that's a lot of card advantage.
I guess
maybe it makes a little bit less of a luck deck.
I guess you could say Mengu thinks that playing this deck is a terrible experience.
Why?
Why did you say that?
Never mind, Mengu. The listeners will understand. It's okay.
Okay, listeners, tag me at Mango09 to explain me the joke, please.
Oh, I know. I got it now. Okay, okay.
Yes.
Is it because of terror?
I will keep
Is
it
it
for
because
me.
of terror?
Oh, okay, so you did get it.
Yeah, it is because of terror.
All right. Speaking about terrible decks, on Sunday,
Wow, what a segue.
the de-
Go on.
the deck that went undefeated, so they went 6-0 into 3-0, was Blue Green Fog.
I love this one.
Playing actual factual Fog too, one copy.
Wow.
So this deck is unplayable in paper, 100%. You cannot
Why?
play this deck in paper. The very good friend of mine actually went to Pauper with this, saying that they won a lot of Magic Online, and they concluded undefeated in the Pauper
no.
with a grand
All
total
draws.
of 5 draws.
Well, okay.
Classic.
This deck is just, it's like, the way you win is with Stream of Thoughts, which is the mill spell, and that's it. So, like, you have to...
You know the
wanna
best
play
thing,
this
right?
deck.
If this deck always draws,
What?
then you just become more and more likely to play the mirror as you go.
Exactly.
True.
I went to watch him in the round 8, and there were 3 Turbo Fog. One was playing the mirror, one was playing against the a Tron deck, which is another deck that easily timed. Easily
Anthony knew, huh? Anthony didn't know that, but he knew the mirror match will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A beautiful thing.
and
Well, I love
Yeah,
how this
every
deck looks. I
Thursday-
want to play this deck like a lot. Do you recommend this experience, Mango? Have you played this
mean,
deck in a stream or something?
I have never played this, but I've seen my opponent play, my friend play in a league, and it took him like 4 hours to finish the league, but it did very well. But he
Sounds like
actually-
value
the
for
one that
money.
watched-
You know? Awesome.
Yeah, he actually won 5-0 in the one that I watched. I think it's a good deck for sure. The experience might not be great for you and your opponent.
Yeah, no one will have fun, but one will win. Okay, well, what
Also-
will storm just in case they're trying to burn you?
Oh yeah, for sure. No. Like if this deck
Arcane Denial.
draws cards, it never loses. It's impossible to cheese.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to try this deck. I mean, I don't think I'm ever gonna play it, but part of me just wants to fog people out, especially the Boggles. Well, no, they play
Also,
Fall in
yeah.
Pain, right? They used to play Fall in Pain. If they do,
Yeah,
it's
no.
tough.
Flurry Pain is very, 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 very hard to deal with.
Oh no.
Also, flashback. So how do you beat Fall in Pain for real though?
Well, in the sideboard,
Blue Elemental
this
Blast.
deck has 4 Blue Elemental Blast and 4 Tolerian Terror. So
Okay.
Wow.
can switch.
It's the true home for Tellarian
To
Terror.
aggro it's yeah. That's what you say. Speaking of terrible deck, I mean, you guys' sense of humor is just ahead of this time.
I mean, you're
Yeah,
assuming
mine
Mango
was
did it
just-
on purpose.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, see?
You didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah.
It's just
you have
natural.
done.
It's just natural.
Oh, nice save.
It's like a talent, you know. You know the joke even if you before. It
Yeah,
actually
that's the best. That's the best joke. Yeah.
Also, what I wanted to say is that if you play Paper on Magic Online, if you play Pauper on Magic Online, it's actually worse for this deck because Magic Online Pauper players never concede. They never concede. It's much different than other people because it's weird. Like
Sure, it's probably
Vintage or
cultural.
Legacy player. Yeah. They never concede because they know that you're gonna time out and they don't value their time as I has other people formats, I guess, and they never concede.
That's aggro.
I swear. Might be aggro, but I've played with a couple of leagues in Pauper and just had this feeling that, whenever I was playing like Blue Eye Coggates or Tron and just 100% win, David just would let me waste the time and even if the match was over. Yeah.
Wow.
So extra decent. But yeah,
Disincentive.
the second player also plays. The second player also plays a deck that is basically the same. Like you just play 2 Moments Peace, you play Stone or Dignitary, their Ephemerate. Like Pauper is not an experience for everybody. Let's just say that.
So you think this mirror match ended in a player timing out the other one?
I think you can easily mill. No, I think Turbofog is ahead. If you don't put pressure on Turbofog, it's gonna win. I think.
Well, this Tron deck doesn't seem prepared to pressure.
Yeah, no. All right, but yeah, I think this final is a pretty clean reason of why Pauper. It's a fun format. It's great, but I don't think Yeah, these 2 decks in particular are really a reason. Like I remember, I don't know if you already mentioned that, but I non-intentionally draw, I do say, like, draw for time up 4 seasons because my opponent had infinite life and couldn't win the game. And that is not very acceptable, I think, to happen.
Yeah, you mean from
right?
their perspective to have, basically won the game but not really.
Yeah, like to build the fact that a deck can do that. I don't think it speaks very well of the format.
Right. Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
Well, disclaimer for listeners: it doesn't matter what Mango says now; he will always keep saying Pauper is the format of the people.
Even though me and
Pauper is
Javier
the
proved
format of
last
the
week that it
people.
isn't.
It is a format of the people, exactly. All right.
Yeah, it for sure is. It for sure is. I think I'm gonna be playing once again Familiar. Last 2 weeks ago when I played it in the Liga 140 with Familiars in a sea of mono red, played against 3 of them. Very good matchup. So I'll play it again.
There's one more format though. Maybe not that much of the people that we should be talking about a little bit, if that's fine for you guys. There was also the vintage Eternal Weekend. Do you think we should touch that, Mango, or you think format of the people has more decks?
Vintage is basically the format of the people because it's always full proxy. Like nobody ever hosts a vintage tournament without proxies. Wait, it actually happened in America, right?
There were no proxies in America?
I think so. It was an Eternal Weekend, so it must have been no proxies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know they were a thing, like no proxy vintage.
Yeah, 4 seasons it's full proxy, but I believe if it's an Eternal Weekend, it must be all regular, right? It must be.
I mean, I actually don't know. I mean, in my head, all the Eternal tournaments ever happening in 2022 were proxies, but
All the vintage tournaments, you mean?
yeah, the vintage.
Yeah, at 4 seasons, they're always proxy, but I think that if you will have like the promos and the huge card sent you by Wizards, they can't allow proxy, of course.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Wow, okay. Well, also, we had this one. Also, we had the online one.
Yes.
So let's have a look at this a little bit.
Yeah, so the online one, I believe, was won by Echo Baronen with... oh, no, never mind. It was won by Jujubin with Hollow One.
Jujubin keeps winning every tournament, every format.
2-3 for the bean.
2-3 for the bean.
18 years old player, won Vintage Eternal Weekend on Sunday, made top 8 of Legacy Eternal Weekend on Sunday, basically made like 20k playing 2 tournaments in a weekend. Amazing.
Formats that are way older than him.
For sure. He is.
Kind of rough.
11 years after Magic.
Think of all the vintage players. It's like a true format for boomers, and then some 18-year-old Zoomer just crushes them all. Oh,
yeah.
I love the story.
Good story.
Yeah. But overall, the initiative cards are super popular in this format too. 3 in the top 8s of the Eternal Weekend online, 3 in the top 8s of the Eternal Weekend in paper. The initiative decks, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, you heard it here on the Carney. It's very early. They're a little bit too good. I mean, not for vintage though. Like in vintage, they're just cards. Like they're I don't think they are too good for vintage. I think they're actually kind of cool in vintage because they're like a whole finally an aggro deck is like good enough. So I think they're actually fresh for vintage. They're also better in terms of they don't steal the initiative as much as they do in Legacy. But we'll see. I don't know how good they will be after. Even if they will ban it in Legacy, they will not ban them on Vintage. So it looks like White might become. I mean, no, White is already the second best color in Vintage after Blue. Before, you could say probably Green or Red, but I think White is now the second best color in Magic, thanks to the initiative cards.
For sure.
I'm going to also have Miharu as Oath of Druids. Always Oath of Druids. It's always this player playing Oath of Druids. They just win. Yeah, they just win with it. Sure. I never fully understand their builds because they play like Nifmi said, which I don't like and such, but they just keep doing well with the deck, even in large fields. So, it's consistency with the archetype.
Yeah, I mean, one also mentioned that, I think we didn't mention it on the Carnies, but me and Javier played against 4 seasons in the team event. We didn't actually play against him.
Actually, true.
We played in team, so my team played against Javier's team, and Mango's team won.
Easily. Yeah, you guys outpowered us.
Yeah, we had our vintage guy.
I tried to beat Mango's team. I didn't play against Mango himself. Play against Pivo on Legacy. I think I actually won, right?
Yeah, you won. You won the match, and me and Vintage won ours.
Yeah, Mango's vintage player just didn't lose a game like the whole day playing
Yeah,
white.
Mango's Vintage player were dragged down by me and Pivo, unfortunately. In
Yeah.
that event.
Exactly.
Yeah, with we were 3-0. I believe at 4-0 we could ID, but then I lost against Hammer with Murktide in a series of unfortunate events, just draws. Just maybe I could have played in a safer way, and then yeah, we just dragged him down. He was 4-0, 8-0 in games, and then things.
It seems to me like
fell
every
off,
time you go to Four Seasons, Mango, you have one of those games where your opponent only wins if 10 things happen in a row and they happen.
Yeah.
I have this impression, like you play.
I
and then
had my
this thing happens to you.
mindset was so like, wow, we're 4-0, ID, we're great, we're gonna win.
Oh, come on.
So, like, it was impossible to lose. I was in that spot, and then there were a bunch of draws where like hammer into Shadow Spear with a paladin in play, and I just lost there.
That's no mindset for a professional. Come on. Yeah.
I know. I mean, again, it was a side event. It wasn't professional. It was a team side event. So it was very chill thinking about the main event, which is the dinner at Molino Bruciato, which Javier joined us with.
Twice. I was 2 nights in Bologna, and I was sure. I made sure to be twice there. Yeah, that's the actual main event. This is great.
I already booked the dinner for the March Four Seasons.
Yeah. Well done. Like that's that's a main event. That's all I can say.
Yeah, so this is funny. Bob Wang is coming to Italy for a vacation, and he also comes to Bologna. He messaged the owner of Bolino Bruciato. I mean, I guess I messaged, and I asked him if he had a table for 2. He said it's fully booked until late January.
Wow.
Yeah.
Main event indeed.
Main event indeed, exactly.
I booked for March.
I mean, the joke is like you book the tournament and you book the flight and you book the restaurant on the same day because you don't want to miss in the restaurant,
No, for sure.
That's why you go.
And you also don't want to be too late playing the top 8. You have to split.
Yeah. Hashtag sponsored, by the way.
Hashtag sponsored. All right. Is that enough, Carnies? Did we have a nice little podcast here?
Yeah, I think it was good. Do you have anything else to add, Anthony?
Not that I can think of.
What do you guys do this weekend?
I'm gonna play 2 RCQs, but this time one of them will be modern, so that's wild.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do you play? Do you know?
I don't actually know. I haven't thought that far ahead.
Do you have all the cards?
No, but I'll work out something. That's okay. I mean, it's not so important when you're
finance
qualified and stuff, but it's play to play.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll find something.
Just remember, Yammoth is a good deck.
Say?
By the way,
Yagumot?
Do you remember Yammoth is a good deck?
Yeah, but I mean,
seen this
if
in a few
I just
podcasts.
never play any, I mean, I think most decks are about metagame position, but Yawgmoth is a deck that I really wouldn't pick up, like not having played.
No,
many games.
I'm just
fine
saying.
doing that with
I
Rhinos
wanted
and
to say it's a good deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rhinos you can pick up at any point.
I'm sorry, Javier. I only accept deck ratings if they're published in tier lists where the top 15 decks are all good. So if Yawgmoth is there, then I'll buy it. But
I accept.
okay. Yeah.
Yagumot ranked 6th place.
Okay. Well then, that's not bad. I think. Yeah, it's not
bad.
Yeah. Below Breach, above. What did you say? Zoo. So.
I think number 7. I think it's Living End, but I think it's wrong. I mean, I'm gonna update it because I put Rhinos 8th place after Living End.
Unacceptable.
That's Rhinos gonna climb. Rhinos
Rhinos don't climb. That's monkeys.
I just lost I just lost the final of a trophy this morning playing Rhinos.
No. Confirmed unplayable.
The winner of 4 seasons with 3 Force of Vigor main deck.
Ooh.
Wow.
Very strange.
That's strange. Yeah, it's very strange. All right.
What about you,
I will play
Javier?
the Mox Open. I will play probably play the Mox Open or a good old vintage challenge because I haven't played it like months. I will definitely play some Magic Online for sure.
What's open is sealed?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Nice. Do you have play points to join the event?
I think I do. I open a bunch of chests.
Oh, okay.
Well, imagine opening a
gonna
bunch of
be
chests and
playing,
getting play points. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing a couple of, actually 2 team events. In Christmas, we always have these. It's a tradition for many tournaments to host team events during Christmas. I have one on Saturday night, which is pretty wild. I don't think I've ever played on a Saturday night, but I'm
What?
gonna do that.
You've
Yeah.
never played on a
So
Saturday
instead
night?
of going out, you play tournaments.
Saturday night on paper, I've never played a tournament like that.
Wow.
That starts at 8 p.m.
Oh, starts at...
Saturday, yeah.
Oh, what? Okay, that's... Wow, this sounds very strange, but... Alright.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It's a Rimini, and I'm going to be playing. It's a team event, and the formats are modern, the format of the people Pauper, and you can never guess the third format. It's a
Alchemy.
Italian commander. It's called Centurion.
Is Italian Commander just
Yeah.
French Commander, but you refuse to accept that something good could have come from France, so you call it Italian Commander?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
basically,
thought.
commander players are so they would never accept a ban list handled by other people, so everybody just make their own ban list.
Ah,
And
yeah, that
this
sounds
way
right.
it's called Centurion.
We could man the Carney Commander. You know, we could just
Yeah, for
set
sure.
our own commander rules and just play Carney
Yeah.
Commander through Discord. Or
Yeah,
something.
first rule ban soaring, because why is that legal? But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We could just ban whatever. I mean, if a card gets 2 votes out of 3, it's banned.
Ooh.
You know, we could make
If
the
a card
Carney
wins a
Commander.
match, it gets banned. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if a card, if Mengu dislikes the card, it's banned also.
Okay,
You know,
so
could
first
set
card we
those
ban...
rules.
So what card are you... So Mango wants to ban Slowring. What card are you going to ban, Javier?
Sol Ring also, just in case.
Okay, I
You
vote
know.
for
No, another one.
Fervent
It's the
Champion.
other one.
No,
Yeah, that's the one I'm banning.
no. Tell us to avoid,
so-
please. Bye-bye.
And then on Sunday, I'm going to play another team event that is modern, legacy, and the format of the people Pauper.
That sounds good.
So yeah, those I'm going to be playing modern, both seed, because yeah, nobody really plays modern.
We wish you
But I
good
am.
luck, Mengu.
I have to decide some fun decks, so I'm going to probably play Bitter Reunion in one of them for sure.
All right.
Is that enough?
I think that was enough for today. By the way, as always, all the feedback is welcome. If it's negative feedback, just point it out at Mengu at Mengu09 in Twitter. Otherwise, you can send it Javier Di Magic on Twitter or MTG Bandcard also on Twitter. And yep, that's it. I think, right?
Yeah.
It is.
I think we directed other things to Mango. What was it? I think if you want to explain a pun that Mango didn't
Yeah,
understand.
also that.